Let's talk about creating passion for change. As we started over in the other room, there's a lot of things we can do around language, and I want to go deeper now into other things that we can do as well. As before, it's going to be highly interactive. Matter of fact, it's going to become even more interactive than we did in the other room. Smaller group, smaller room, a little more interaction. Now I see actually one or two familiar faces who've actually gone through a similar workshop before. So if you know the answer to some things we're going to do, cheat like crazy. Come on, look good! Look good. We want you to feel happy. Just don't tell anybody you were in that one. Just look good. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. Strut with it. Okay, so this piece, you know this stuff. There we go. Oh, Bob Fall. Since you've already seen it before, I'll just read it really quickly. Lead energizing change programs since 1981. Developer, super functions, flexible co-design approach, high design. All right, enough. All right. We talked about using language to ignite passion, to involve people meaningfully, to inspire the actions that you need. We're going to talk about a lot of other techniques as well. So for 22 years, I've been a change agent in various ways. Started out mostly around team dynamics, leadership development, and moved more and more into larger change, whole system type change programs, major changes. And one of the things I found is that there's all these different skills to it. So the good news is I often have the privilege of working with someone like you who understands your skills. Right? So I'm not a master at most of the quality change programs. I know a lot of the human side from lean manufacturing, all that. I know a lot of the human stuff, the teams. I can do that in my sleep. But a lot of the other processes I don't really know. When you say ISO 9000 or 9001, I get the concept, but I wouldn't know how to do it. So the great thing is I'm going to bring to you expertise that layers on top of a lot of the knowledge that you have. Even greater is that you're already doing, I bet, a number of things we're talking about. So you're going to have a chance to look proud and strut as well. And there might be some new things for most of you, unless you've been through this exact course before, in which case it'll be a good refresher. And there might be some things that you think are new, but it's just because you forgot. So it's a variety of things. So here's the first thing we're going to do, is I want you in a moment to put everything down that you have. I want you to find someone from a different table to be your partner. And you're going to do this activity with that person. By the way, that's someone from another table that you don't know. Larry's going to help me demonstrate. He has no idea that I was going to ask him that. But so what I want you to do is I want you to go find that partner, shake hands, say hi, then look to me for next instructions in about 27 seconds. Go. Nice to meet you, Larry. That's good. I like that. Then he's in the direction. Walk up. First, sure. Boom. Nice punch.
I'm actually working.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Take care. Okay. And you two pairs right here, would you be willing just to move off a little bit to the side so people can still see you? Stay with your partner. Ladies, if you could step back over there. Okay, good. Whoop. I don't have a mic this time, so you'll have to listen a little bit more closely. Here's what we're going to do. Your goal, as you can probably guess, is to earn as many points as you possibly can in 30 seconds. Here's how you do that. When I say go, you're going to do this with your partner. You won't actually have to raise your hand. I'm just doing that so you can see that in the back. Particularly for short people, that might be kind of awkward. And you're going to earn a point every time your partner's thumb is under your thumb. Larry? There we go. Larry? There we go. And every time my thumb is under Larry's thumb, he earns a point. Everybody got that? Earn as many points as you possibly can in 30 seconds. And go! You're good. And Okay, you can let go. Let go. So there was a wide variety of strategies there. And one pair gave up long before I was done. I'm not sure what happened there. I think somebody was wounded. Now, usually the most common response, and I saw a few pairs doing this, is the, "You're going down!" "Yeah, I gotcha!" You know, that whole big brother, big sister thing coming out again? "Yeah!" Or, "No, please, please, please." But I saw some different strategies as well here. They varied quite a bit. Now, what I want to do is, as a learning exercise, is make sure that you can see me. There we go. Can everybody see me? Yep. Okay. Now, as a learning exercise here, let's be honest about it. Let's talk about our scores to kind of correlate and get some benchmarks and all that good stuff. So, no shame in it. Raise your hand if you got 0. Okay. So a couple people got 0, and their partners are going, "Yeah." All right. Raise your hand if you got between 1 and 5.
But they were gifts.
They were gifts. Raise your hand if you got, oh, you're such a nice guy. Raise your hand if you got between 6 and 10. All right, so both the partners who had got 0, the other person is like now going, "Yeah, 6 to 10, baby." Now, just in the off chance, since most of you didn't raise your hand yet, between 11 and 20. Ooh, we got between 11 and 20. You think she did as well? Oh, yeah, she's just being shy. She's just smiling. You got to raise your hand. Between 21 and 30. Between 21 and 30. Oh, I like that. Oh, come on. That's called a freeze response. That did not happen. We're not even done yet. Between 31 and 40. Oh. Between 41 and 60. Each. Okay. All right. So what I like is, could you two gentlemen come up here right to the middle? And I want you to demonstrate. You guys, make sure you can see this and be prepared to ooh and ah. Here we go. Demonstrate your technique. So as soon as I said go, here's what they did. Nice. Nice. Let's give them a big round of applause, everybody. That was, wait, you said that, you said, but that was batch processing. Instead of, that was batch processing. Think about that for a moment. They looked at the same process you did as a kid, and some of you were going, "Yeah, 9! At 9 these days, you're out of business in the thumb game. These guys are world class. Batch processing, fast. So they did something differently than the folks who were going like this. "You're going down, I got 8. Right? Very different. They actually listened to the rules and the goal. What everybody else did was listen to your amygdalas. Your amygdala saying, "Fight! Yeah! Woohoo! Fight!" Or occasionally, okay, flight. And I've seen this one, by the way. I didn't say it today, but this one. Not getting points off of me. At the end, they get 0, and their pride starts to fall down. We've all seen that, though. Haven't we seen that game? Lose, lose. I'm going to make sure you lose if it kills me. That's stupid. But it happens, doesn't it? That's an extreme fight response. You're stuck in that fight response. You're going to do it no matter what. And by the way, we call this, when I'm trying to beat you, if I believe I win because you lose, it's called win, lose. And if I'm doing, not getting any points off of me, it's lose, lose, both ways. And this, or lose, win is, go ahead, I'll take it for the team. And these guys and about 5 other pairs had win, right, win, win. So they said, wait a second. Let's get as many points as we possibly can, which is what the goal was. How do we do that? So let me ask you two gentlemen, how did you figure this out? How did you figure out that if you collaborate, you're going to earn more points? Or let me rephrase that. If you do batch processing, you'll do more points.
Oh, it was his idea. I just said, yeah, that's a good idea.
Nice. So what did he tell you to convince you?
He goes, well, we'll just do it. We'll do it just like this.
And why?
That was good.
Did he tell you why? To earn more points.
All right.
So it was what's in it for you. Now, who went first in terms of the tapping?
I think I started and I said go.
Wow, now that is generous, because usually the person has to earn it. Has to say, go ahead, you tap me 5 times, and I'll tap you 5 times. So you are very influential. You could have taught that last session. I'm telling you what, this man's amazing. Okay, so that's something we're going to learn about in terms of change. Find out what's in it for that person, change the old paradigms, but keep the rules. Think about it. Because as soon as I said this, most people thought thumb war, right? Or thumb wrestling. Your amygdala, which is responsible for emotional learning, said, I remember that. This is going to be in fill in the blanks. Really fun, really scary, humiliating, once again. Whatever it was for you. Or my chance at vengeance. But for some people, they heard their amygdala probably fire up for a second, but then you thought, wait a second. How do I earn as much as I can? Not by doing the old game, but by playing a different way. Still follow the rules. Now, one time, by the way, I was doing this with a group from Consumer Union. You've heard of them? They do Consumer Reports magazine. And there was 2 guys that were both ex-football players, college football players. Big. All right, so they were as big as me even when I'm on the chair, but twice as wide. And I put them together because I was afraid they were going to break somebody. And I'm like, these guys, it's going to be hilarious to watch them. They got 150 points each. Even I thought they were cheating until I asked them to demonstrate. And they said, you never said, yeah, exactly. Come on up here, let's see, watch this. Exactly. So all of a sudden now, like this. No, not switching, just going rapid fire. So you don't talk about, no, streamline processes. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? And being super jocks, they can move their thumbs really, really fast. Most people get tired after about 10. They're like, brrr. It was amazing. So it's the same process, but they do what you do. How do you do the same thing better? Same constraints. Hey, we have another hand. Nice. It's always been there. Use it. Get rid of the extra step, switching back and forth, even if it's every 5. Right? Batch processing is faster. Continuous processing even faster. So very, very brilliant there. Now here's what I want you to do. 3 things. I want you to thank your partner, and then, or not yet, wait till I say go. Then you're going to sit with your partner, but I want those last 2 tables to be empty. So move on up so I don't have to yell the entire time. So the last 2 tables will be empty. Sit with your partner and one of these other tables. I will only pick on people in the last tables. If you're up here, you're safe.
Right? Too bad.
That's right.
No, well, just
Nice. By the way, sometimes in that activity, I see 2 people arguing for 15 seconds. Wait, isn't that cheating? No, it's okay. I did this with a group of folks. I won't say the company because I'm going to say negative things about them. But the first round, I did this with 200 people. Nobody collaborated. I was like, wow, okay, that's unusual. Let me try this again. I gave them a huge hint. 5 groups out of 100 collaborated. So I told them that they need to hire me to come back again. They needed more help. But it was a tough one. And some people literally were yelling at those 5 people saying, you cheated. And you've all seen that, right? The way it's been done is the rule. It was handed down on Mount Zion, carved in stone. This is the... And human, by the way, that is human nature to religify things. It's not a real word. To take whatever you've done and say, this is the way it is, this is the way it's always been done, don't change it. And you know that better than anybody. It doesn't matter if they've only been doing it for 2 months. People kind of get in that mode fast sometimes. But the longer they've been doing it, the harder it is to change, right? You've noticed that. So there's a lot of things that are important to help them change that process. How do you get them from having thumb wars to earning 150 points apiece? That process. So there's a lot of factors. Raise your hand if you do presentations. All right, so everybody here does presentations of some, almost. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of how you do that, whether you're influencing people in a presentation, whether you're influencing people in one-on-one, through written materials. Certainly doing reframes like we talked about in the other room are very helpful. Putting in language that's more motivating versus creating F responses, defensiveness. So no surprise, your thumb partner is now your co-coach. So in whatever way you want, with a nod, with a handshake, with a hug, I don't care as long as you're both okay with it. Acknowledge that you're going to help this person learn. That's great. A couple you actually hugged. Okay, just no kissing in here, people, all right? So earlier we talked about igniting passion, so I want to go a little more into that this time. There's a formula that I've taken some of the classic old change formulas and I've started to add in some of the new science to it. So a lot of the old formulas, in order to make people change, you need to have 3 things. Anybody remember? There's a lot of them, I know. But they have to be dissatisfied with status quo. They have to have some sort of motivation. They have to see there's some place to go, right? Usually it's called the vision. And they have to have a reward, something that makes them want to go there. Right? So those are the common ones, and those are all good. They all make sense. And as brain science has been developing and as social sciences have been developing, it's fascinating to see how some of the things that we've been doing in business are right on, and some things are not. Some things actually are demotivating. But as I said before when I quoted Daniel Pink's book, Drive, is that the actual key motivators are different than what we often think. So let's look at some of that. How do you ignite passion? Part of it is getting an advancer that works. There we go. So you know that you need to ignite passion when you partner with leadership. You know that you need to ignite it for their goals and identify the quickest path to their goals, right? That's all common sense. Now you know you need to partner with leadership. Here's one of the challenges. You often report to those leaders, don't you? Nod for yes. Shake for no. Okay, thank you. All right, good. Just want to get a sense there. So the challenge is you need to partner in such a way that you're bringing a lot of information to the table. Somebody was talking about that in the other room. How do I influence up? So what do you think? Why do you think I say partner instead of just serve them? Why is it important to partner with them on the change process? What's that? Yeah, you both have to have a commitment to it. What's that? Ideas have to go back and forth. Yes. That's right. They have to change as well. They also have to acknowledge the expertise that you're bringing to the room. I don't think we need to ignite any passion in the kitchen. Whatever is happening back there, it's exciting. It's another language, so I can't understand, but I hear metal clanging, yelling voices. I just want to go out and party with them. But I won't. Okay. But because we need to create passion, we need to partner with them. And also, here's one of the key things. Even though I'm on the outside when I come in to work with people as a change agent, I tell people, and you probably say something similar to this at times, the best solution is when we bring all your expertise, your knowledge, your experience, and we combine it with all my expertise and knowledge and experience. They know their process. They know who they are individually. You know, well, obviously, you wouldn't be hired except for the fact that you know a lot of things about quality, a lot of things about change. So it's the merging of those two and going back and forth that make the biggest difference. And that's a really key fact. So here's the thing. I want you with your partner right now just to talk 47 seconds. Scientific fact right there. 47 seconds means nothing. That's what, it's a fact. or as Douglas Adams would say, 42 is the answer to life. So I'm going to let you talk for 42 seconds about how do you develop partnership with the leaders in your organization, which means you have to talk very quickly, by the way. No long stories, just very quickly. How do you develop partnership? And if you're not sure, just go quiet and let the other person talk. If nobody talks, eavesdrop on somebody else. 42 seconds, go. I'm briefly going to talk about the FACES change formula. I have a video which I was going to show it, but we don't have time. But of how to use this. But there's essentially 5 components, and my guess is that you've hit at least 2 or 3, if not all 5 in this. So listen to see what you've heard, and also listen to see, hey, this might be new. And if you find yourself thinking, nah, that wouldn't work for me, probably right. Because if you think it won't work, it won't. But if you shift it and say, well, how could I make this work for me? Even if you have to adapt it, right? Because no actual model works perfectly, does it? Are you guys having a good time? I want to like go, carambe, carambe! Woohoo! That was classic. He's like, oh, there's people out there. Okay. That's right. Put away the tequila. Get off the bar. Stop dancing. Okay. Whew. Where did all that come from? Who knows? All right. By the way, adapting to change there's a technique, and I don't have time for it now, but the improvisational leadership, which there's some handouts for, is a technique called yes and. Whatever comes out, you take it, you build on it, you have fun with it, and then you get back on track. Yes and can be used to redirect, get yourself back focused again, particularly with leaders. When they come to you and they say, well, I don't want to do that because it costs this much money. And you can say, instead of going, but you have to do this, how much it costs, blah, blah, and you argue, which of course causes what? Fight. Exactly. So instead of saying, absolutely, I totally understand why you wouldn't want to spend that kind of money, what kind of results do you want? All right, if you want these kind of results, here's some ways you could do it. Is it worth the trade-off? Let's look at the ROI. Instead of fighting, you go with them. I mean, think about it. If you were responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget, would you want to spend $500,000 on a change process? Only if you really had to. Only if it really made a difference. Change processes and quality processes aren't usually fun to do, except for us. We like this stuff. But most leaders don't like it. So just being able to empathize with them and say, yeah, I hear you. Boy, that's tough. So let's make sure this is really worth our while. Let's crunch some numbers. Let's do some best practice. Let's go around and benchmark with other people. Let's really make sure we know what we're doing. He says, well, what's in your report? Oh, by the way, it is. Yeah, let's take a look at that report. Let's talk about it. So FACES, by the way, when you're communicating with someone, there's 5 components here. And here's the one that's most often forgotten. Fundamentals of identity. Who are we? What's our purpose as an organization? What are our core values? I will not change if you're asking me to violate how I feel like I should be in the world. Think about that. A lot of change resistance comes because people don't know what you're asking, and it may violate something that they hold dear. So when I work with organizations, one of the first things I do is be really clear. Who are you, and what's core to your ideology? Who you are, how you see yourselves, your DNA. And then we want to make sure that every change we do is in alignment with who they are. I work with a bank, Danvers Bank actually, here in Massachusetts. And the CEO said, nobody wants to change. They just come in, they check in at 8, at 3:55, they're all waiting to do their cards at 4 to get out. I said, how do I get them to expand that? I said, well, the point isn't to get them to work long. The point is to get the company to grow. So let's come back to that. How do you get people to participate in a way that does more? And I said, so what have they said when you want to make changes? Well, we don't want to be like one of those big banks where we treat everybody as a number. That was a big hint to me. And when I did some interviewing, and by the way, I don't interview like, what is the problem? What do you hate about change? I said, what's the most important thing to you in your bank? What do you love about working here? We're a community bank. We care about our customers. So I went back to the CEO and I said, if you want to make this change, you have to make sure that it's core, that you will be even better to your customers after the change. Not worse, not the same, but better. Then all of a sudden people have that passion, wanted to do it. They didn't care. The bank is $250 million in assets. They wanted to grow to $1 billion. Do you think tellers care about that? No. But they care about having pride in their job, feeling like they're making a difference, feel like they're included. And we did it. So we did all kinds of events. This is where the chief ignition officer comes from, right? So I'm in front of 130 people all in one room. We're having fun. There's laughter. No surprise. We had balloons. We had people from the bank decorating it. They were so excited about where they were going. But the most important thing is because they want to feel better about their jobs at the end of the day. And for those that were career-oriented, more advancement opportunities. So when I'm talking to the CEO, it's about growth. When I talk to his direct staff, the change process were about career possibilities for them and greater advancement. When I talk to people in the front line, greater satisfaction in your job. Exact same change, change the message to fit. You all know this, right? Does that make sense? Okay, if you don't, just pretend. Yeah, absolutely, Bob, all the time. Let me try that next time. Change the message to fit the people. And it's got to fit who they really are. Adapt the message to fit who they really are. Second part of the message from the FACES model is A, is the assets. What do we already have in place? I mentioned this before. People forget this all the time when you change. But think about this. If I go to somebody and say, all right, we're going to make a change. I want the two of you to start working together. And I know your finance, your marketing, you don't really get along. But just get over it, deal with it. That's the way it is. They're going to be so excited about that. But instead, if I say, all right, so where do you already work really well together? Tell me about your best project. And if they have to think hard, then you know it's a very important question. Then when they finally come up with it and they start talking about it, by the end of that conversation, talking about their best project together, they're like, hey, welcome. Changes their biochemistry, gives them ideas on what to do moving forward. Use the skills they already have instead of trying to tell them what they should be differently. If you already have the skills, why not use it? So assets. And if you're telling people we're going to make this huge change, tell them why. Tell them how. What's going on? We've got X number of dollars. We have X number of months. We have resources from all over the place. We have, most importantly, you. Your talents. When we get to the involved stage, we'll talk more about how you tap into them and use them that way. The third one out of FACES, C, is for concerns with the status quo. So that's the old one we already know about. And I'll give you a hint here. Spend only as much time as you need on this one and no more. If you overplay the concerns part, what do we learn happens to people? Yeah. They focus on that. They get F responses. They argue. They debate. They blame. They quit. They give up. They freeze. What's the point? We can't try anyway. A vast majority of spending that stopped, by the way, in 2008 was out of fear, not out of lack of money. So a lot of why the economy is looking a little bit better now is because a lot of people are saying, well, by the way, for some people, it was lack of money. Right? We know that. There were some real issues. But everyone was afraid they were going to go next. So they stopped spending. Which, of course, we know what happens then, right? Stop buying. Other people get poor. But it's starting to reverse now. And the more the economists say how terrible it is, the more people tighten with their money. And more we borrow from the Chinese. Oh, never mind. I'm getting political issues. Back away, Bob. Okay. Oh, E in FACES, energizing vision. Not just a vision, but one that energizes them. So I already kind of gave you some hints on that one. I need to make sure this vision energizes you, and 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 you, every person. That takes some talent, though. It takes some work. Some people say, Bob, we don't have the time to do that. I say, you don't have the time not to do it. You know that works. A good plan up front saves you a lot of time in the long run, doesn't it? All right, and FACES, there's the last one. S is starting steps. What are we starting in? Your starting steps, your starting steps, your starting steps. And usually what I do, and this goes into the involvement stage, is we get people together and say, here's the overarching goals. And by the way, usually they have no control, right? They can't change it. So we say, what can your group do to help implement these? What can your group do to be as successful as possible with these new objectives? And then we get a bunch of brainstorming going. And if they come up with the same ideas we already had, I give them the credit. Fantastic, that's it. So let's do that right now. With your partner, you're going to talk for 97 seconds about, I don't know where they come from, it just comes up. 97 seconds about what of the faces do you already do, and what do you think you might want to add? You have to go fast for both of you to get it done in 97 seconds. Go. It's a good thing, though, in some ways, because now she's listening. You're right. I ripped you off by a second on that one, folks. I apologize. So I just want to hear quickly, because this is important to build on your own momentum. You're much more successful when we add to what you already do. So who already does something around ideology? Something around core values, make sure we... Okay, good. So that's a great room for improvement. All right, okay, a couple people. Good. And who already does something about assets? Make sure you focus on what you already have and what you can use, resources. All right? A few folks. And this one gets a lot of hands up. Who focuses on concerns with the status quo? Good. Fear-mongers. No. A little bit of fear is good. Too much fear is bad. Some people go just on passion. And by the way, I modulate how much fear we use based on, if they don't need it, forget it. Let's just go. If they need a little bit of fear to break out of the complacency, I'll use a little bit. If they need a lot, I'm going to do some deeper work. If they need a tremendous amount, I may quit. Energizing vision. Who uses some sort of energizing vision? Where we want to go, what's going to be like for us. Okay, a little bit. All right, starting steps, what everybody has to do. You're planners. I was expecting more hands on that one. Yes, okay, good. All right. So hopefully, out of all of that, you may be thinking, that's just way too much for me to do right now. Well, pick one. What's the one that you most want to apply in the current change project or your next one? What's the one you want to apply? Because you could build each of these one at a time, one of the skills. Energizing vision? It's very powerful. Energizing vision for each person is good. Also, by the way, what's that? Identity. Really thinking about who are they? How do we make sure we change so it really strengthens their identity instead of violates it? Nice. Now, the FACES model, by the way, the change stuff, again, you should get a copy of that if you go to the website, but also if you give me a card, I'm going to send, to everybody who gives me the card, I'm going to give them both handouts from both workshops. And the workshops are, the handouts are for the 2-day workshop, so it's a lot more information than you would have heard even here. All right. Let's look at the next piece. Involve people. Get everyone thinking, learning, and contributing. Here's the key thing. Even if you don't need their input, get it anyway. Why do you think that is? Empower, involve. People are going to give so much more if they've had a hand in it. We all know that. If there's something thrust upon us versus something we've been part of, we know the difference in our motivation, don't we? If it's thrust on us, as soon as the pressure leaves, I'm going back to what I've done. If I'm part of, I'm now chivvying my friends, hey, come on, come on. We were part of this, man. Let's make it happen. It's not magic, but it increases your probability of success dramatically. If you can, encourage whole system involvement, which means everybody who's part of it, any stakeholder in the group who can make or break you, even in the little ways, get some involved with them, and some involvement at some point. Now, when I worked with the bank, we came up with this huge thing. By the way, they shifted from trying to get $1 billion in assets to 100 billion because I thought 1 billion was too small. Yeah. Well, we had a 30-year goal. So 1 billion means you just do a little bit better than you did before for 30 years, and you got there, and inflation keeps happening. 100 billion means you have to change things radically. That was one part of the energizing vision. The other one is to be an asset in every community we're in. And that's the one that most people rallied around. Yeah, that feels good. We can be part of that. By the way, most of the people didn't know how much the bank already was doing. So assets, we start talking about all the good stuff you're already doing. People get excited, motivated, proud of their bank. So even, by the way, they did not create these objectives at all themselves. I did that in a small offsite with the management team, cleared it with the board of trustees, and then came in. I wanted to get everybody involved, but they said no. I said, we do not want the inmates running the prison, Bob. That was his direct words. Okay. Yeah. I was like, wow, you hire inmates? That's very trusting of you in a bank. But I understood his point because he didn't know how to include them in a way that actually added value. He was afraid of where it would go. Because what I don't do is ask them, what do you guys all think about the bank? That's a recipe for disaster. Instead, I said, here's the goals. What ideas do you have that you can make a difference about? That you as tellers can make a difference about? That you all in loans can make a difference about? That you all in terms of, and by the way, for them, risk management is a lot of their quality control, right? A lot of risk management. That you in risk management can do something about. And then they're all brainstorming, coming up with ideas. And of course, I asked that big question, what are you already doing, everybody, that is helping this bank be financially successful? What are you already doing that is making you an asset to your community? And then I had them write on cards people in the bank who were living a core value, like really living it, exemplifying it. And they posted them on the walls. By the time we were done with that day, people were like, this is a great change. We're excited about it. It's good for everybody. Would you love to hear that? The challenge is you have to communicate in the right way. You have to involve people in a way that gets them excited, gets them empowered, help them see what's in it for them. And you have to inspire them. You have to create that energy. And the creative energy is really big. It's part of why I do brainstorming a lot. Gets them involved. Plus, have you ever done that? You're just a pure brainstorming session. No one's arguing, no one's debating, just throwing up ideas. How do you feel when that's happening? Energized, excited, enthusiastic. It's a great team building activity. And particularly if you have very focused things that you can actually do something about. Not the kind of brainstorm where you walk away saying, yeah, none of that's going to happen. But if they're brainstorming about things that they can influence, that they can do something about, that's exciting to people. It's fun. One of the things that came out of this, and the bank president was saying, I don't see the value in this. At first, he said this, is that each branch became allowed to decorate its own branch in the way they wanted to show who they were. What do you think happened to customer service when they were allowed to decorate their own branch? Through the roof. I convinced them, let them to do it because it helped them be involved and then inspired to keep going. So if they're decorating, when customers come in, they're doing a lot of things that they were being told to do before but weren't. They were greeting them at the door. They were excited. They were looking around. They were, hey, look at these new decorations. Look, we have some candy over here. We've got a game you can play. I mean, they had all kinds of fascinating things. Then the branch managers would get together occasionally and talk about what they had done that was really working. They started sharing these ideas. Inspire them. And one of the things, and you know how this is celebrating successes. Hopefully you're already doing this. If not, big, big recommendation. It's one of the easiest things to do to motivate success. Set up early wins and look for them avidly and then celebrate them a lot. You have to always tell the truth because they'll come back and get you if you don't. But celebrate it. Go around and say, hey, we made this accomplishment. What's your name, sir?
Rob.
So let's just say Rob that made this great idea that ended up being a big breakthrough. What's your name, ma'am? Eva. Eva, that Eva accomplished. Hey, did you hear what Rob and Eva did? Rob had this great idea and Eva did this. This is what it's done for us. That's fantastic. And the other people are thinking what? When they hear me saying that? What can I do like that? I want to be like Rob and Eva. By the way, sometimes if I can't find a new thing that they're doing, I find something someone's been doing anyway already that still helps you towards your goal and celebrate that because it's real and you want more of it. Inspire that. Keep it going. Change processes are easy to let go of once you've done the hard part and you walk away. And we know what happens, right? Often we walk away from a change process. Yeah, down. It takes a little bit extra work. And people say, wow, that's extra work. I said, it's a lot less work than trying to resuscitate it later on. Anybody ever done CPR in a change process? It's messy. All right. As I said before, trust is a key piece, so sincerity is key. And this is a tough one, because I've told you a bunch of tools, by the way, that use car salesmen use, that politicians use, and they use it to spin. But after you've bought your first car, after you've elected somebody that later on you're disillusioned with, what happens? Do you buy your car there again? No. Matter of fact, you hear a friend talking about buying a car, what do you usually say? Don't go there. So it's really key to remember sincerity is very, very important. Your reputation is a huge portion of what gets you through the day, what makes you effective as a change agent. So engagement. There's a lot of wisdom in this room, so I want to tap into it now. So with your partners, I want you to talk. I'm going to give you a full 137 seconds this time. A lot of time. I want you to talk with your partner about what do you do to get engagement now so that they feel involved, so there is some inspiration. And then make sure you have at least one wise and or witty comment afterwards. Go. I'm actually going to... No, it's only 10 more minutes. I'm like, about 11.6 to... Oh. I like it. The challenge is I keep having to wet my whistle. Yeah, I keep track pretty well. Yeah.
But if it's a good idea, you still keep that
Right. Diminishers are often ones with a high negative ratio in the other room we talked about. So that's a good question to ask, and I'll bring that up. And we can talk about that a bit. Yeah. Om on the range. Okay. Let's hear a few ideas. What do you do for engagement that we haven't already talked about? Bribery. Do you remember the honesty one? Yeah.
We created our first new product that was ours versus doing someone else's product.
Nice. Oh, yeah. A lot of pride in that one. Yes, sir.
We go see, we go partner and role model and ask questions so that we're basically facilitating their thinking and the ideas become theirs.
Nice. Nice. Even if you have the germ of the idea, they help fine-tune it and then they own it.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Yes, sir.
pointing out things that they do well, individuals do well.
Yes.
Things that, it's like, could never step in and do what you do. You do that so much better than I could ever do that.
This is huge, by the way. Think about it from an effort response standpoint. When you walk into a team and they know you're coming to make changes about quality, what do you think their fears are about you? Yeah, you're going to tell them what to do. As a matter of fact, you're going to tell them what they've been doing wrong, that you think you're smarter than they are. You may be walking in with your own insecurities, have no clue that they're terrified of you. Because they don't look terrified, they're like this. That's just a fight response because of terror. That's all it is. So when you're able to walk in and say, you are an expert in these areas, wow, look what you do. I could not do that. You will see 9 times out of 10 the shoulders drop down a little bit. And they say, I really like the way you do this. I want to help you so that you look even better. See, the shoulders drop down even more. Okay. That's a very powerful thing. As long as you're sincere. That's a key thing, right? Because when people aren't sincere, it shows, and they know it. But if you sincerely do it, it really can make a big difference. And for people that are not used to being told what they're doing well, you may have to do it a few times. And for people that are fearful about being told what they do well, which happens, I find indirect ways of saying it. Right? So instead of saying, you do such a fantastic job, and he's like, oh, shut up. And they usually mean it. I'll say it. What's your name? Dan. So I might just out of hand. So, you know, there was the other day Dan had a great idea and we did this. And everyone's like looking at Dan, like looking back, what's going to happen? And so that's the kind of thinking we want to have. I don't even look at Dan. I don't want him, because I know he's going to go like, oh. Right. And then I bring it up. When we do those ideas, like you said, first gentleman with the tie, what's your name?
Steve.
As Steve said before, get them thinking of ideas. I don't care if I've thought of it, the president's thought of it. If Barbara comes up, I'm like, Barbara, that was a great idea. I think that could be really valuable to us in this reason. Did you guys hear what Barbara said? Barbara, can you tell them? Excellent. Because who cares who came up with it? Spread the credit all over the place. It's about the change. Nice. A lot of good stuff right here in this room. Hopefully you're already learning from your partner new concrete ideas, because I'm speaking more in generalities except for some of the stories. So this hopefully is helpful to you. Oh, wrong device. Okay, here we go. That's right. That's right. So there's a wonderful book, by the way. Again, I have no part of this, but it's called Made to Stick. It's by the Heath brothers. Chip and, not Dale. I knew that was coming. I don't remember the other brother's name. It is a great book for anybody who does any kind of presentations, that does training, anything where you want the information, the lessons to stick with them. I use a lot of these techniques. Matter of fact, you read the book and say, oh, Bob did that. He told a story. Concrete examples. They have a success model in there, which is just fantastic. And one of the things I really love about it is that it's short and to the point. I hate books that blather and you have to try to pull out the gem. Bam, right to the point. It's very sticky. Made to Stick, a great book. No time to talk about it. Okay, next one. This is another wonderful book. You've probably noticed my slides are different from most people's slides. Presentation Zen talks about how to do this well. Gar Reynolds, the author, talks about the fact that we are the message. If the slides were all they need to see, we could have sent them a memo. Think about that for a moment. And if we have a slide with a lot of bullet points, we did just give them a memo. If you're talking, you have a slide full of data, what are they doing? They're reading the data, which means they're not listening to you. Or they're listening to you, which means they're not reading the data. Or back and forth. And talking about using photos and images that evoke things for people. Most of the time on our planet, by the way, human beings did not look at PowerPoint slides. Did not read books. Did not read at all, actually. Stories were the most powerful way that we told, how we remember things and how we pass things on. Even today, stories remember a lot. Little factoids, true, but stories really stick with us. Presentation Zen, you can evoke that with images. Because, of course, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And video is worth 1,000,000, I think. Here's the key thing. You want the right kind of photo, because otherwise the wrong 1,000 words come out in their head. And the right video. And visual presence, which is part of why in the other room I moved the screen to the side and I stood in the middle. Because the message is about what I'm saying, engaging people. The more you can do that. Not everybody has it, because as we know, the number one fear in America is public speaking. So I love it, and I love heights, which is number 3. There's something wrong with me. By the way, death is 8. Think about it. Death kills you. Public speaking does not. But that's the key thing. Our amygdalas are not about rationality. They're not about realistic. That's why people will not do changes. People who have, I've seen people with asthma, what's the lung disease? Bronchitis, emphysema, smoking. With the oxygen, smoke. If they get mixed up, they blow up. Smoke to their death. Won't change. People resist change mildly, not because of logic. We don't do most things because of logic, by the way. We do it because of emotions. Pictures evoke emotions. That's why we talk about passion for change. So there's a lot of things about involvement. We've already talked about a number of these things. One of the ideas is creating an improvement culture. That's just who you are. It's just how you work. All right, because of time, we're going to move even faster. We all know we're motivated by progress. We talked about that, celebrating. Here's a bunch of inspiration tools. You probably do some of these. Sharing best practices, learning aids, reminders, small wins, and as I said before, celebrate progress. I can't say that enough. Easiest thing to do. As long as you're sincere, it keeps working. So around passion for change, let's quickly, we have 2 minutes and 12 seconds, questions. And I know you had one. I thought that was pretty relevant to the group.
I had a couple. Which one did you like?
I like the good one.
Oh, then take that one.
All right. So he's talking about what do you do when you're working with a leader who saps the energy out of the group? And my guess is that 95% of the time, that leader, remember we talked about the ratio in the other room, 10 to 1? Usually that leader has what kind of ratio? 1 to 1? Or what's that? Yeah, maybe it's the other way. Maybe it's 1 to 10. We've all been around that. I don't care how exciting your change is. If you have a leader who talks 10 times as negative as they do positive, they're going to kill the energy out of something. I don't care how good it is. That's a big fact right there. There's 2 things that I recommend. There's a lot of things, but 2 that I'm going to talk about now that you can do in that kind of situation. One is to say, I have learned that if you talk more about what you want them to accomplish and build on what they've done, you're going to be a lot more successful and a lot more popular. Find out what they really like. You'll make more money. You'll have a better chance of promotion, whatever it is that works for them. That's number 1. Number 2, counterbalance that with a lot of the positive. You make up for the balance. And I guarantee you, and you've probably seen this, they will come to you instead of that person with a question after that, don't they? Yes, sir.
Isn't the tipping point 3 to 1 positive so that if you're below that, you have that more negative tendency?
Yeah.
That you start to move?
Well, the research, like 10 years ago, the tipping point was considered 2.8 something or another. But they've done some recent research in capture labs, and they saw that the average teams, by the way, were 2 to 1, twice as positive. The poor performing teams, but still performing, were 1 to 2. In order to become high performing, the tipping point now, as they've seen, the best research is 5.6 times as positive. It's actually 5.643, something like that. I say 10 to 1 because if you aim for 10 to 1, you're going to do well. People rarely go too far with it on accident. As long as you make sure you still address it. And for me, that 1 is very easy to find. Right? Usually I get some good ideas, and they're still becoming a killjoy on the team. And finally, I might pull them aside and say, when you say this, people get discouraged. Here's some things that you can say. Right? So the people get discouraged, that's the 1 negative. Now I flip back over. Here's some things you can say to get more encouragement. Sometimes you have to say it.